Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raise Rewind with Bell, Bushman, and Drew.
Jansen. That is into center field. Here comes Kiermaier. Phillips has tied the game. Arose Arena coming around. Throw home. Now he stumbles. But the ball gets away. Tampa Bay wins it. Brett Phillips, Game 4 hero.
The sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome in, everybody. It is the Rays Rewind podcast, the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. I'm one of your hosts, the great L. Bushman. And, of course, joining me as usual is Drew. Drew, I think at this point, we'll probably wait till next season to change the intro. Because,
Yeah, we got a couple names on there no longer on the team. But to be honest, if we're going to make it updated for this year, I don't really know what sound bites we should have, unless Junior maybe does something exciting here. So maybe we got to keep it through at least next season. Maybe next year we'll get a little bit more.
So we get some exciting moments.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for joining in, guys. Make sure to go to our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind. Hit the subscribe and notification bell. This is a quick hit from us last night. It was announced after listening to us on our many podcasts, our trilogy of bringing him up. The Rays have finally come to their senses, bringing up Junior Caminero tonight for tonight's game, and hopefully for the rest of the season, giving you a preview of what things to come for 2025 and beyond. Let's get our reaction in. Drew, do you want to go first? I think we're both kind of in the same plate about it. It's almost like it's too little, too late.
Yeah, it probably is. I will say I'm still I'm barely hanging on a thread for this year. So I would like to think if he does come up and provide some sort of spark and some big hits here, that they could make at least somewhat of a run to make things interesting in September. Not saying they would actually make up the ground enough, but just as long as they're staying in it, I think it's possible still, especially if he comes up and plays well. And like I said, just kind of lifts the team up around him. But yeah, more than likely it's, too little too late. The Tampa Bay Times article that was written last night about it, citing, they hope that, he can come up and provide a spark for the offense. Obviously that is very true. My frustration comes from this. If that's the logic and the reasoning, that could have been done at several points earlier in the season when they were much more likely to stick around in the wild card race, whether it be at the deadline after the moves were made. We've talked about that. And I know that's kind of when you thought he should have been up. I mean, you could go all the way back to even May after the White Sox debacle and Brewers debacle and going into the City Connect jerseys. I thought that was a good time to bring him. I mean, literally, there have been several points this whole year that he could have brought a quote unquote spark to the offense. So, am I glad they're doing it now instead of later? Yes, of course, because now I have a new lease on life for this season as far as excitement to watch this team. But I'm also, I'm so excited. I'm 95% excited, but also 5% frustrated that it didn't happen earlier. To be honest, I'm shocked that they didn't get bailed out by having some sort of injury to the active roster that forced them to call him up this early. So I'm a little shocked that they did it without any sort of, situation like that. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, he's going to be.
I'm excited too, but not the level of excitement that I want to be at. I want to be more excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I am to a point, but I'd be more excited if they were still relatively in that chase for the third wild card spot. If they were relatively closer than they were, I'd be more amped up about this because it's okay, now you're bringing up a guy that's probably going to make an impact and give us, and like we've been saying, a spark to this team because of the way the offensive woes have been and, the lack of, or the way the vanilla offense has been and just the way the team has been overall this year where, they're missing that jump start. And if they were closer, I'd be like, yeah, this is great because I've got tickets on Saturday. I'm going to go on Saturday.
Nice.
So I'll be able to see him live in person. But if they were still in the race, I'd be more amped up about this. I'm just like, now, you hit the nail on the head. Like we've talked about this before, where there are certain points of the season where he's could have come up, and we all know this as fans, and I think the front office knows this, that they could have picked any other time of the year to bring him up, and I think at the point in time where they were at the trade deadline, everybody's been traded away. Perfect time to bring him up because that almost signals, hey, this is a new regime coming up. This is the start of a new team where we're going to build around this guy and we're going to bring him up because this is the start of the new superstar that we're having come up. Hopefully, superstar that we're having coming up. And the trade deadline would have been perfect because they were still relatively close in the standings in the wild card. But it's just to me, it's like too little, too late. The past week and a half, getting almost swept by the Cardinals, and then the way they played against the Orioles, like it's just been sloppy, terrible baseball where we've seen all year long. And I should be more excited about this. I am. I'm excited to see him in live playing in a Rays uniform up in Tropicana Field. But just the way the state of the team is at, it's now we're just looking at, hey Rays fans, we're gonna bring him up. This is almost like a preview of next year into things to come. And I look, I think there's a lot of Rays fans on social media that probably share maybe our views too, but there's a lot of them that are just kind of delusional, saying, "Oh, well, this team can still be competitive." Do you know what it's going to have to take for them to still be competitive and to try to make the wild card? They have to relatively have to win out, which is impossible to do. But I think with this call up, I think if for me to salvage the rest of the season is at least make it competitive.
Yeah.
At least play better. At least score more than 2 runs. Like, at least make it competitive baseball where you can almost play spoiler to the guys that are in the hunt for the 3rd wild card. Like,
Yeah.
at least kind of like be that team that shakes it up a little bit. But there's zero chance they're going to make it. So for these delusional Rays fans that, there's no chance. There's no chance that they're going to make the postseason. So enjoy the rest of the season where hopefully they play competitive baseball and hopefully he sparks the team to play better and to hit better. But it's just, to me, it's too little too late. It's just like, okay, this is just a call up, maybe because we're appeasing the fans and everybody's been wanting this for a while. Now's the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that I agree pretty much with everything. I believe Fangraphs has percent chance of making the playoffs at like 4.6%.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of where I'm at mentally. It's going to take a special run here.
Yeah.
And
proportions, Drew. Epic proportions.
And it could happen. You look at, they beat Houston 2 out of 3 in Houston. They could, in theory, I mean, I never thought they were going to win yesterday with Valdez pitching. But, if they're able to take 2 or 3 from Houston and then, maybe a 2 or 3 against the Diamondbacks, I don't know. I know the Diamondbacks are playing pretty well right now. And then they go to Oakland for 4. I'm just there. Then they get into a really tough part of the schedule. So they got to do it now.
Then they have to sacrifice something to the baseball gods. Like it has to be, it has to be major league, like the movie Major League level style of epic proportions where they get a silhouette of Stu and rip off a piece, which would be kind of gross and weird every time they win. Like it'd have to be that level of winning to try and get into the 3rd wild card spot. And like you said, like, the next stretch of games besides the A's and I think the Blue Jays one more time, and then the Tigers too, everybody else is in the hunt for the play. They're going to be in the playoffs or they're like on the bubble. The Rays aren't even on like the spectrum of a bubble.
Right. Yeah. Again,
don't worry, folks. I'm not salty or anything. It's just like, it's another frustration of like, hey, we should have done this instead of that. Like it's too little too late for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be pumped if he comes up and really does well early.
Me too.
And at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'll be like, man,
What could have been?
you could have done this a lot sooner, and we would have been, because I think the excitement for me would be it's a 9.5, 9 out of 10 right now.
Yeah.
I think it would have been 10 out of 10 if he's up with guys like Randy and Isak, like in the whole lineup, kind
Yeah.
of as it was most of the season, and he's fitting into
Mm-hmm.
that kind of that build more than what it looks like right now.
I'm interested in seeing of where they're going to bat him in the
Well,
lineup.
well, so they're going against Kikuchi tonight. So lefty, I would imagine. I mean, he's got to be fourth. No lower than fourth.
That's what I'm thinking too.
I mean, you're probably going to go. I mean, they did Caballero last night, which I don't know if you saw and if you read Topkins' article or saw anything on social media about it. But they've been prepping Caballero to play in the outfield.
Outfield, yeah, I saw that. There's a little bit of notes
So
for Tompkins, article saying where he's gonna be going out there a little bit more.
So, I don't know if that means he's playing out there tonight because obviously they're going to put Caminero at third. But I mean, I think you probably could go DeLuca or Caballero in the leadoff spot. I mean, and then maybe Yandy and then Caminero. It also depends on if they want to play. Sometimes they've been playing Brandon Lau against lefties. So if they do that today, I don't know. But then you got Morel. So I mean, I don't think you hit them any lower. No way you hit him lower than fifth.
Mm.
I think he could be as high as 3 or 4. Because he's not so much a contact guy. Like when Wander came up, he was second, I remember. And he's obviously a guy that would, bat to ball skills, getting on base, a little higher contact, a little higher average. You put him up in the second. I think with Caminero's power, you probably want to try and get guys like Yandy and who knows who else is a good contact guy on our team. I don't know, not really anyone, but
not really anybody right now.
Maybe a Caballero or DeLuca in front of him who can get on and steal and get in.
Yeah, because you want to have them get guys on base,
and that produce runs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think third or fourth in front of behind guys like Yandy, and then somebody that can get on base and steal like Caballero or DeLuca. And then I don't think you put Morel in front of him just because of the high strikeouts. But I think my frustration in the back of my mind, again, overwhelmingly very excited.
Here's another thing that I'm a little frustrated on too. What a worse day to bring him up. You're on a Tuesday where school has just started for pretty much everybody in the area.
No build up, no turnaround time for fans to be like, oh man, okay, let's make some plans and get out there.
Right. Where I know last night it was really there wasn't hardly anybody there because obviously the first day of school. Nobody's going to go to a Rays game the first day of school.
Yeah.
Like, why not bring him up for the weekend series coming up this weekend? Bring him up on a Friday. That brings up the hype. You're going to have so many people there this weekend to go see him. But you bring them up on a Tuesday, it just some of the decisions that they make.
Yeah,
is just this year alone have been. What are you guys doing? Have you just given up and just said, you know what? Yeah, here you go.
And it's like, again, I know with because Wander's really the only comparable prospect recently that would match maybe the
level of excitement. Yeah,
I think Wander was even more so. But I remember they were on a big losing streak out on the West Coast against the Mariners. They lost on Sunday, and then that afternoon they broke the news they were bringing him up. But they had an off day Monday, and even me, I was living in Lakeland at the time. I told my wife when I read that, I was like, "Oh man, I gotta get tickets to that." So it gave me a day and a half to get plans made to get out there for the game. I would imagine it's a lot more difficult. I would still, as a Rays fan, if I was in the area still, I would definitely be trying to make it out there to watch him, even though it's not his debut. I mean, I know he was up last year, but I've been, so excited to see him.
It's like, hey, he's
this is
coming up to stay. He's not.
He's not going
back down. Yeah.
So I thought about that too. Like, I don't think the atmosphere is going to be largely different tonight versus last night.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you said, the weekend series, T-Pain concert Friday night.
That's right. T-Pain's in concert.
I definitely going to be a little bit more rambunctious the weekend series, but it is what it is. I Again, my little bit of frustration in the back of my mind is I don't why like all we've heard all along like his defense not working. They're working on it with them. They want that up to a better level. They want him to be successful when he gets here because we've seen big prospects this year come up and not be successful and get sent back down, a la Jackson Holiday. That Jackson Churio guy for the Brewers was struggling early on, even though, they kept him up because he signed that big contract for the year. All these things. Well, it's like, okay, well, those guys are starting to hit now. So obviously it's not too much of an adjustment anymore. Plenty of other prospects have done plenty well this year.
Plus, you
okay,
also
so his defense.
You have to look at it this way too. How do you expect him to develop?
Yeah.
Especially at the major, like at the show, if you don't have him in the show, like if you keep him down in AAA, he's just going to be used to AAA guys. Like if you want him to develop into a major league guy, he's got to be facing major league guys. He's not going to still have to face AAA dudes. Like if he's ready, which he's been, bring him up. Like there's only one way to be ready is just to face major league guys. Like that's it. Like stop pity. Like stop like dancing around why you wouldn't want to bring him up before. Like we've seen this all year. The defense has been really bad. Like what worse can it do to bring up a guy that could probably help us out a little bit? Like it's just,
especially in the infield. I mean, I just don't. That's what kills me is, and I know we won't ever get a straight answer because the only people that will ever get straight answers are the ones behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand that because Neander can't come out and say, well, we really just want to hold them. They can't come out and say, well, we want to make sure we maintain his rookie of year eligibility for next year. At least I don't think they could because that looks bad. That sounds bad.
I think he has to have 100. He has to have 130 at bats to be eligible.
Yeah, and like obviously he's gonna. I mean, he's at 30 something now. I mean, he'll reach that. But it's like you can't come out and say that because it's like almost like the service time manipulation, but opposite.
Right.
Like the Cubs. Remember when the Cubs had Chris Bryant and they were like, "Oh, we want him to go down to AAA and work on some things at the beginning of the season," and then after like 2 weeks, wherever that deadline was for. Arbitration or, whatever, they called him up and it was like, obviously you were just trying to manipulate his service time, but they couldn't come out and say it. If it's something like that, they're never going to say that. So they're going to keep giving us this, BS, this stuff about his defense, which not saying that his defense is amazing, but yeah, like when they're accepting what we're getting in the infield from guys like Curtis Mead or Caballero at times, or certainly Christopher Morel, it's like you're telling me Caminero is not as good as that. Like
and that's what it signals to me is like, okay, we are fine with the product that we have, and we don't think he's good enough to be at this level with this product that we have. Which to me is like, are you guys nuts?
What does that say about your prospects? I mean, he's the number 2 overall prospect in baseball. And you're saying, oh, you want him to adjust, it's hard to hit up here. Well, yeah, the whole team can't hit. So, like, I think he can find more success up here than, at least 2/3 of the lineup right now.
The thing is, Drew, and I just looked at the wild card standings. We're at 500 right now. We're back at 500.
Oh, yeah. Sweet spot. Where do we want them?
We're 5.5 out of the 3rd wild card spot. I hope they make me eat my words.
Yeah,
I hope they make a run and hit and make the wild card spot. I hope they do because every time we talk relatively negative about the team, they seem to do better. But I hope they do.
Do you want me? Well, what's been super frustrating too is the Royals have finally. I think they've lost like 2 or 3 series in a row.
Yeah,
and so you had a great opportunity this past week.
To catch some ground.
Yeah, to catch some ground, and they've really just not. It's like, okay, well, maybe it would have been nice to have Junior up. Like, again, I'm very excited. I'm glad they finally pulled the trigger, but it's like, what? So last night's game was a disaster offensively.
I don't know what's going on. Well, I don't know what's going on with Taj Bradley either.
Yeah, it could just be hitting a wall at this point. I don't know, but it's like, what have you seen over the last week, half a week to week, that was any different from the whole season? That was like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? We need him up here. That's what kills me. So to me, it's like it couldn't have been like Eric Neander was watching the game last night.
This is the breaking point. We need him up right now. This is we need him now.
You know what? our offense, you're right. Like, they're not any good. It's like, no, it's been the whole story, the whole season. So to me, it's like, there's gotta be something else going on there. I'm curious now, who gets dropped, because, unless it's like some sort of injury situation we don't know about yet, and they say, oh, we're putting somebody on the 10-day DL or 10-day IL. I don't know who you send down. I mean, if they're putting Caballero out in left field, to me, that makes me think that they're going, or putting him out in the outfield. I think it was left field. I think they just go ahead and send down Meisner.
Probably.
Again, what a weird situation. I don't remember the Rays ever doing this so much in one season, where they bring up prospects and guys that aren't like heralded prospects. Like Cameron Meisner's not a top tier prospect by any means. Neither was Austin Shenton. But they bring up guys and then they don't play them. Like, they give them like an at bat here and there. And it's like, how do you expect them to do anything when
Didn't
you're
that
not
happen? That happened with Shenton, like the first.
Yeah,
Shenton,
and he actually had some really good moments
Yeah.
towards the end of his time with the team. I believe against the Mets, I remember he took that big walk against
Yeah, I remember that.
somebody, which
That
goes
won
to
the
show
game?
you,
Yeah.
goes to show you, like, his time with the Rays, his big moment was a big walk he had. But but he had some really great at bats, and was like, you kind of feel like maybe he should get some more action, but they just never did. And then they sent him down, and they brought him up for a day earlier, and then they sent him back down when Carlson came up. So I don't know, but I think Meisner is probably the guy. I saw some stuff online on some of the message boards. Some people think maybe Morel, but I don't think, I realize he's struggled recently, and he's swung, he's striking out a ton, and he's not great in the field. I don't think you trade for him to send him down.
Right.
They're just going to ride him out the rest of the season. So, in my opinion, I could be wrong. So
I
think
just hope that in the offseason, with the amount of money that they have saved, they build around him. Like, bring in more offense, bring in guys that are actually going to help out this team. Because if you bring the same cast of characters back, it's not going to work again.
Right.
So you got to spend the money. Like, it's 50 plus million. Go out, spend the money on some guys that are going to help you out. I mean, look, I'm happy he's up. I'm excited. I can't wait for Saturday because I'll be able to see him live at the Trop.
Mm-hmm.
But it's prove me wrong, Rays. Prove me wrong. Make a run. Go make a run. Maybe Junior's the guy who's gonna light this offense on fire, light this team on fire to make the wild card spot. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong.
And honestly, the most exciting thing about it for me is that he's the first piece of the puzzle for the next few years that we're getting to see. So that's, I think after him, right, it's going to be guys like Carson Williams, Xavier Isaac, Braden Taylor, maybe. So, let's get Junior up here. Hopefully he gets off to a hot start. I mean, Wander, you remember, had that great first game, and then struggled for a little while. And I mean, Caminero hit like 235 with 7 RBIs, mind you, I think, or something like that, like in 1 week. Maybe it wasn't that many, but he didn't do terrible in that 1 week, but he wasn't also lighting the world on fire. So I'm not expecting him to come out and just torch major league pitching, especially with some of the arms he's got to face in the next week or so. But yeah, go ahead and do it. Why can't he? And it's a preview of things to come in the next few years, when I think the Rays in 25 and 26 are going to be a little bit more well-rounded. So,
all right. Well, guys, we want your reaction. Go Rays. We're excited for the debut tonight against the Astros. Hopefully it does well. Hopefully sparks a fire that inspires them to make a run. So we'll see. Well, thanks for the quick hit. We'll see you guys next time on the Rays Rewind podcast. Make sure to go to our YouTube page at the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind. We're the sickest Tampa Bay Rays podcast on the Sick Media Network. For myself and Drew, we'll see you guys later. Peace. See ya.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Rays Rewind with Bushman and Drew on YouTube, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.